Pushing pawns on the side of the board like this, a3 or h3, h6 or a6, a lot of the times are not the greatest moves, and yet a lot of people do it. In fact, I did it myself in my most recent classical game, and it was a mistake. I'm going to talk to you guys about why I decided to play it, why it was too slow, what I should have done differently. I think this is going to be very instructive. So let's go ahead and just jump right in and talk about what happened. So this is round number 4 from my classical tournament. And I played e4. My opponent played d6. I'm playing against Arush Iyer. And he goes into the perk. And normally in the perk, they're going to play g6 and bishop g7 and castle. And I was okay with this. I was going to, I had something in mind. But right here, he played the move e5. And this is kind of, I don't know if you'd call it a sideline, a different way to play the perk, but not really the main line. And the first thing that you will notice is if I want to, I can trade the queens and force black to lose castling rights. The problem with this is you don't really gain an advantage by doing that. In fact, you actually lose some of your advantage if you look at the eval bar closely. This is a very solid position for black, and even though they can't castle, I don't have any way to take advantage of that, really. So I didn't want to do that. So I played bishop c4, just trying to put my bishop on an aggressive diagonal and target this weak f7 square. Okay, so they played knight b to d7, and I played f4, continuing to be aggressive and put a lot of pressure on the center. Now he plays c6, and you can see the computer doesn't like it. We'll talk about why in just a second. But he's letting out the queen, obviously, and also supporting both of these pawn pushes. Now, I'm going to explain to you what I thought about and why I played a3 and why it was a mistake. So I was afraid that if I ignored it and played just a normal developing move like knight f3, this is what was going to happen. He was going to take my pawn. I was going to take back. He was going to play b5, chase my bishop back. He was going to play c5, chase my queen back. And he was going to play c4 and trap my bishop. Can't go anywhere. This is what I saw, right? And I'm like, that's annoying. I don't like that. And, in some cases, there's some lines where they might sacrifice here and then fork you. You have to watch out for it. In this case, it doesn't work and it's not good, but sometimes that's a thing. And so I was like, I just need to give my bishop a place to go so I don't have to worry about this. The problem is there is a fight going on for the center. There is a fight for who can develop the pieces the quickest, right? And me pausing to play a move like a3 is just not what you want to do unless it is an absolutely last resort. This is the only option I have. That's not the case here at all. So I was completely not understanding I had much better option. So I'm going to show you what Stockfish said. It's actually super simple when you think about it. Stockfish says, trade these pawns and then keep developing and keep putting on the pressure. Because now if black tries to do the same thing, look at this. c5 does not attack my queen. There is no more trade here to pull my queen to a vulnerable square so they can get the double pawn push. So if they play here, they don't have time to, it's not attacking anything. I can do whatever I want. I can take this pawn. The threat is gone now. I can even just trade here. I can sacrifice my bishop and go on an attack. I mean, whatever I want. I'm totally fine. That's all I had to do. Just trade the pawns and keep developing. So what I want you guys to take away from this is just because you see something like this in your game, like, for a lot of people, it's a pin. They're like, I don't want my knight to get pinned, right? I don't want my knight to get pinned. I'm going to play a3 or h3. The takeaway is this. A lot of times there's a much better solution. You just have to be a little creative and look for it, okay? And I totally missed the idea of just trade these pawns first, then keep attacking, right? That's it. So yeah, disappointed in myself for that. So I played a3. Okay, let's keep going. They played b5. And right here, I want you to pause. What move would you guys play in this position? All right, so I missed an opportunity here that I wish I could have gotten back, okay? The opportunity that I missed was bishop takes f7 check. And I don't even know, this is why I put the bishop here, right? Because I want to put pressure on the square, so I should definitely be considering moves like this. I just didn't quite realize one detail, or two details, I should say, that would make this move actually really good. So I actually brought my bishop back. But I should have taken it, and here's why. It's not like a winning move. Okay, the engine says it's equal if black is smart about what they do. But from a practical standpoint, this was going to be very challenging for my opponent. Why are we giving up the bishop? It's because we're going to trade here. We're going to take again. And they can't take back because they're queen. See that? The queen's undefended. We just take a free queen. So if the knight can't take back, then this knight has to move, or I'm just going to get a free piece back. And then I've got my bishop, back. You can't go here because the knight, and you can't go here because the queen, which means if you want to save your knight, the only move you have is moving it backwards somewhere. Let's say, I don't know, knight e8. Now I have all kinds of good options. One of them that's really interesting is e6 check, luring the king out. And now I get to attack this king. Now, Stockfish says black can survive this, but this would have been a dream position to play. I would have loved to play a position like this, right? The other move is you can just play knight f3 and be ready to jump in here. And you still have this threat. And black's position is, look at all their pieces on the back rank. Their king is about to come under fire from the rook. Again, this is a lovely position. I would have loved to play a position like this, but I totally missed this idea, right? Because I forgot about the queen being there and the fact that I could have this e6 idea at the end of this line. So again, just missing opportunities. So not a great start to the game here, okay? My opponent captured, and this was actually a move I was very happy to see, because this move allows me to maintain a strong center and kind of catch up in development, right? I wasted some time here by playing a3 and bishop a2, but now I get to get a little bit of time back. So I was very happy to see this move. Bishop takes f4, the bishop comes out. Okay, great. And then my opponent played this move. And I was really happy to see this move, okay? And the reason is because, well, there's two reasons. Number one, they're blocking their bishop, which is going to slow down their development significantly. This bishop's not coming out anytime soon, which means this rook is not coming out anytime soon. And all they're really getting in return is a simple little threat on a pawn. So my first thought was like, well, maybe I just defend the pawn, queen e2. And Stockfish actually says this is the best move. But then I realized I can actually sacrifice that pawn. I played knight f3. And the point is, after they take, which they did, I'm going to castle. Now, why is this such a big deal? Why is this so good for me? Because the king and the queen are on an open file where I could put a rook very easily. This is very bad for black because it opens up all kinds of tactical opportunities, and they have to be really, really careful. Okay? So all of a sudden, but it wasn't because I played well, it's because my opponent kind of gifted me some opportunities here. Now I'm feeling pretty good about the position again, okay? They captured, I took back, and like I said, this is the threat, rook e1. Black has to be very careful. So they played knight f6, and I'm like, well, this has got to be the move, rook e1, let's go. So they have two options. I thought they were going to play bishop e6. What move would you guys play if this happened? All right, so there's a principle in chess that you want to put pressure on pinned pieces, right? This is a pinned piece. The bishop cannot move. So how do you put pressure on this piece? Well, you might have thought about knight to g5 because we already have the bishop, we have the rook, we want to keep adding the pressure, so knight g5, right? The problem with knight g5 is they can play this move d5, blocking out our bishop. We don't want to allow that, okay? So the move you need to play here is actually trading first. Now you play knight g5, and now black has no way to deal with this. They don't have any defenders for this square. And now black is just in trouble, right? Our knight's going to come jumping in, or our rook, and their position is very, very bad, okay? So that was what I was expecting. But they played knight e4. He played knight e4. And I was like, huh, this just looks so dangerous. What can I do here? So what do you guys think I played? All right, so now I sacrificed the bishop on f7, right? And there's this interesting line. If I take with the rook first, the queen takes. I sacrifice the bishop. They take. I can get a really nice fork. Okay? I'm winning. The problem with that line is after takes, check, they won't take my bishop. I'll just move their king. And now I just gave up my rook for a knight and a pawn, and I don't get anything. My bishop's under attack, and black is actually doing okay. So it's important when you're looking at tactics in positions like this that you get the order right, and you play the correct move order. So I took with the bishop first. Now, if the king takes, guess what? Now I can't take this knight because now this is already here, the fork, right? And if the queen takes, well, I simply just take this back and I get a piece back, and now I'm again attacking the king. They block with the bishop. Boom. What do? We put pressure on the pinned piece. They block with the other bishop. What do? Put pressure on the pinned piece, right? It's also a fork, and I'm winning. So my opponent decided, you know what? I don't want to take that bishop. They played king d8. The problem with black's with moving king d8 is that the king cannot castle. This is a fantastic thing when you're trying to attack someone. If you get them to lose castling rights, that's great, because now you know their king is going to be stuck in the center, And it's very difficult to defend in those types of situations. Okay. So what did I play in this position? If you want to pause, this is where I actually played a brilliant move in this position. All right, so if you had a chance to look at that, my initial plan, okay, when I was analyzing bishop takes f7, was that if he played king d8, I was going to go with this move, bishop g5. And you will notice it is a pin, and if the knight tries to take me, I'm going to get the queen. But then I was thinking, I'm like, well, I do lose a bishop and a rook. Bishop and a rook for a queen. Of course, the queen is better. His king is still weak, so this is probably fine for me. But is that the best I have? And then I noticed this move, knight to e5. And what's the point of knight to e5? Well, I'm trying to just keep the attack going without allowing black to trade a bunch of pieces off. And the main point is that I'm cutting off the queen from the defense of this knight. So I'm going to just take the knight. And then the other point is that if they take me, I'm going to take back this way with a check and open up the attack on the king. And for example, they go here, I take the knight, and they actually can't take my bishop because this discovered check here. We can play this. We're going to win the queen. Okay, and it's an extremely dangerous position for black, right? And I saw this. So I'm like, okay, let's go 90. Also, I'm attacking here. This is a force. It's a very forcing move. Like, black has to respond to this. You can't just do some random move. So I played 95, and they played bishop d7, dealing with the knight c6 threat and trying to put some pieces, you know, in between the queen and the king. I took the knight, and now they took my knight. And here I was, you know, thinking about taking with the idea that if they take my bishop, I'm going to play e6, which actually Stockfish says is probably the best way to play the position. But then I noticed this move, queen h5. This is what I played. And the idea is I'm defending that bishop, but I'm also creating this threat here of bishop g5 and clearing the square here for the rook to come over somewhere if I want. So it felt like a nice move. They captured my bishop and actually allowed me to take their queen. So again, we see this idea of they get a rook and a bishop, but I get a queen. Now, in general, a queen is going to be better than a rook and a bishop. And especially when the opponent's king is weak, right? That's a key detail. If their king was super safe, and if they had their rook and their bishop in a really nice position, it is possible that the rook and the bishop could outperform the queen, and you could end up losing. But in this position, that's probably not going to happen because their king is so weak, right? So what I need to do is figure out how do I make use of that. So what move did I play? Well, I played d5. And the idea is very simple. I want to trade, and I want to open up this file so I can put my rook and queen here and just get to the king. That's it, right? So d5. They played king c7, and I brought the rook over. I wanted to bring the last piece into the game that wasn't doing anything. g6 was played, brought the queen to the center, attacking the king, and they played bishop to d6. And here I had a nice idea, I think. Queen to g7. Lining up on the king this way, and I'm threatening bishop to e6, which is going to be pretty annoying for black to deal with. So here my opponent played the move bishop f8. Bishop to f8. What did I play and why? This is a great moment to pause and try to find how the game finished. Okay, so first of all, I hope you did not say queen takes rook, because queen takes rook is a blunder. This was actually a trap my opponent was setting for me. Notice the rook is lined up on my queen. Now they can play check, and then they're going to take my queen. Now, I could actually go back and at least get the bishop, and now we have this rook and bishop against rook and bishop, but it's actually kind of an equal ending, which is obviously not what I want when I'm in a completely winning position. So you cannot take the rook. What I noticed, though, was that I could play the move d6 check. And the point is that if the king just moves away, we now have blocked off the bishop from going there, and guess what? We can take the rook because there's no longer a check. I'm not going to lose my queen, and I got a free rook. You say, okay, but isn't black just going to take you? And that's what they did. They just took me. So why is this good for me? Because I've opened up the d file. And now I can take advantage of that with the move queen to d4, creating this battery, which is targeting both bishops. So normally you would be like, well, my bishop's under attack. Since I can't defend it with my rooks, I'll move it away, right? But no, in this case, you lose a bishop. And there's no way for black to save both of the bishops at the same time, right? So I'm just winning. And right here, my opponent actually resigned. Of course, you could play on a few more moves, but once you lose the bishop, the king's going to just kind of not have good defenders, and also the material is just too much, right? Queen for rook is just I'm just winning. So he resigned here. So, I'm not proud of how the game started. A3 was just completely the wrong idea. I was not really following what was going on. And then again, I missed bishop takes f7 check here. Played bishop a2, like just back to back. Just I don't even know what was going on. Then when my opponent kind of made a few mistakes though and allowed me this e-file pressure, that's when I started playing a little bit better, finding some of the better moves. And I think this was a nice little sacrifice followed by another brilliant move to kind of just keep the attack going. So overall, not an awful game. I'll show you the game review here. Yeah, so we had 83. We had the brilliant move. Slow start, but then turned the ship around. So this puts me at 3 out of 4 points in the tournament right now, which is a very respectable score. I'm pretty happy with that. We will see what happens in round number 5. We'll see you guys there.